Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of College Town Talk. I'm Shan Stout.
And I'm Jonathan Frank.
Okay, Jonathan, I'm told that today's guest on the podcast requires a short story, emphasis on short because I've met you, which I'm not sure I've ever heard you give, but let's hear it.
Okay. So, Shan, you know how I think this is maybe episode 78 or 79 of the podcast.
Wow, I feel so old.
You've been putting up with me for a while now, and we've not had any repeats, and we're always trying to keep our eyes peeled for who would be good for the podcast. So, Dr. Brenda Wilson, who we had on this program a while ago, the professor of journalism, she had invited me to come listen to her class give this mock press conference.
I love that.
Yeah, and the scenario was you're at a fictitious university and everybody's getting food poisoning from the dining hall.
That's fantastic.
And so you have to respond to the press about what measures you're taking. And I met our guest today, Callie Smith, who's a student at Tech. She's a senior from Morgan County, double majoring in communications and marketing. And Shan, she was so good and so well spoken. And I thought we have to have her on the podcast.
Oh.
But she's already had landed multiple internships with national podcast and radio platforms. She has her own podcast. So I guess, in a sense, we've invited on a competitor. I don't know. Maybe I
guess so.
Maybe I should have done my research.
I feel like I'm losing already. She's also beautiful. I mean, there's so many things she's got going for her today.
And she's been a Tennessee Tech Trailblazer, who, of course, are those students who provide personalized tours to prospective students and their families. And she's the former sports editor for the Oracle, our student newspaper at Tennessee Tech. So she is just an all-around great person to have on to talk about, the student experience at Tennessee Tech. We're so happy she's here. Callie, welcome to College Town Talk.
You all are so kind. Thank you for having me here. I'm very excited.
And I forewarned you, Jonathan was not going to be able to give a short story.
Yeah, I can't tell a short story to save my life. But she just had so many accomplishments. How can I be brief? Okay, we've got a lot we want to ask you today, but let's start with your very busy course schedule because, like we said in the introduction, you are a double major in communications and marketing. And I find this very interesting because people might think that's all one and the same. It's not. Those are two complementary but different programs at Tech. The communications major is through our College of Emerging and Integrative Studies, and the marketing major is through our College of Business. And I just feel like you're going to graduate with a very multidimensional, holistic view of this field that a lot of people don't have. So what made you want to take on the challenge of a double major? And what differences and similarities have you seen between these two programs?
When I came into Tech, I had some credits under my belt already, and so I started just as a communication major, but I could have finished in 3 years, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to rush my time at Tech because it already felt like home. I already loved it so much. So I thought, a business degree could never hurt anyone. So I added on marketing, and I mean, both degrees was one of the best decisions I ever made in my entire life. And they're very similar. As you said, when I tell people I'm majoring in communications and marketing, they do think it's one degree. But as you said, it is two. It is in two separate colleges. And they're very similar, as I said. But the differences would be, I would say if you're more of a strategic thinker and you like the more strategy and analytics sides of this field, to go towards marketing. The College of Business, it is set up in a way where everyone goes through the same first 2 years of the program, no matter what your major is, marketing, finance, accounting. And then the last 2 years is when you hit your specialty. If you are on more of the creative field and you kind of want more of a wide range of things that you can do, I would suggest the communication side of things. Because in this field, we get to take magazine editing classes. We get to do PR classes where we do press conferences, as you said. We get to take event planning classes, journalism. There's just so much. Communications is such a wide field. And so that's what I would say the differences are. Communications a little more wide, where with marketing, you kind of get to narrow your focus. But if you can do both and you want to do both, I also suggest doing both because it is a thing that has set me apart when going to apply for certain internships.
So I love everything about your ambitious attitude here. You know, like 3 years was not going to be long enough at Tech. We don't hear that from a lot of students.
No.
That's not the normal answer. It's like, they're really trying to work toward that end game of their diploma.
Right.
And you're saying, how can I expand this a little bit? But you are getting more bang for your buck. And I will say it's a very smart thing you're doing because you are getting that foundation of business,
Yes.
which can go in any direction. I mean, we have people that have majors all over the place, but when they have a business degree and they come to us for employment, that shows us that structured understanding
Yes.
of the role, and so you're very, very strategic in what you're doing. I love this. Now, if you weren't already busy enough with your studies and your double degrees here, you've also previously spent a year as a trailblazer. And we know, like we said in the introduction, you're a standout Tennessee Tech students who volunteer to give personalized campus tours to prospective students. And my daughter, I remember when she first came on campus for the first time and a trailblazer kind of took her under their wing and just answered all the questions and made them feel comfortable. That is that first point of contact oftentimes to that prospective student. So what made you, I can tell by your personality you were meant for that role, but what made you decide to take on the challenge of, becoming a trailblazer during all this time? So you come to Tennessee Tech and you go, hey, I also want to help out. So tell us about that journey.
I had a wonderful experience when I came for my tour with the Trailblazers. And I know our president, Dr. Oldham, says a lot that he wants to make tech a personal experience. And that is what it has been for me all around, starting from my tour with my own Trailblazer when I was a senior in high school. And so it was just a way I wanted to give back to the university, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with meeting the prospective students and getting to hear their stories and getting to hear their desires and get to advise. A lot of times they try to pair us up with people who are wanting to pursue our major. So I got a lot of communication and marketing students, and it was just such an incredible experience to get to share the great things that I got to do within those departments at Tech, but then also hear their dreams and get to advise them. And you know what? Like, maybe this is the right field for you based on what you want to do, but maybe it's not. And I feel like both of those things are equally as important whenever giving a tour to a student.
So I love hearing you describe that. And like Shan said, it is such an important role because you're managing people's first impressions. And obviously we want them to follow through and enroll here and have a positive experience on that campus tour. But you alluded to it talking about when you took a campus visit as a prospective student. So take me back to you being a prospective student. What made you want to look at tech and then ultimately decide to come here to study?
So I'm a third generation tech student. And so tech was always, I don't want to say it was pushed, but
it was on the radar.
It was on the radar. And it was just already family. I mean, that's where my family goes to school. And so when it came time to apply for colleges, Tech is the only college I applied to because it's the only one I wanted to go to. And so when I came as a prospective student myself on my own tour, just walking around the campus, it was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And I loved so many things about it. The library, the fitness center, the RUC, just everything. And then whenever I got to the communication department, that's where I met Dr. Teddy Birch. And he showed me around and he showed me the podcasting studio and invited me there on the spot to take his class whenever he came in. I think that was just the second class they'd ever done. It wasn't even a requirement yet on our degree, and now it is. And so I just keep going back to it was personal. It was always a personal experience. And that's what I loved about it.
And her mom probably painted her childhood bedroom purple and gold. No pressure, honey, but wings up.
Wings up.
Okay, so I'm excited about my next question. We are going to talk about some of the internships you've taken on already as a Tennessee Tech student. I'm so impressed with you. I mean, just this short little time we've interviewed you and we found out, you're just kind of boots on the ground, let's go. How can I help? How can I give back? What can I do? What more can I do to extend my time here? So you've completed internships for K-Love, and that is the world's largest Christian radio network, and for the That Sounds Fun network, and it does sound fun, the publishing platform co-founded by Christian influencer and best-selling author Annie F. Downs that encompasses more than 20 podcasts about faith, finances, parenthood, dating, everything in between. So these are some really interesting internships. This is not your regular internship opportunity. What have you learned from these particular experiences?
So the reason I sought out these internships was I want to do Christian media. That is my end goal, and both of these companies are Christian companies. I'll start with Annie's because that's the first one I had. So I discovered Annie F. Downs and just instantly fell in love with the content that she was putting out there. And so it's actually a pretty cool story. I emailed her company asking to intern, and I spent weeks and weeks preparing the perfect email, praying about it, and finally sent it. And then within 2 hours, I was getting an email back saying, sorry, no, we don't do internships.
Oh.
And so 6 months later, I emailed again. Same email, I want to intern for you. Got the same email back, sorry, we don't do internships. And so the third time comes around, and I was like, I'm not stopping. I'm going to email and ask again. And so I reach out again, and I was like, hey, I really want to intern with you. Can I intern with you? And finally, I got an email back that said, okay, when can you interview? And I interviewed, and then a couple of weeks later, I got the position, and I got to intern with them last spring, so spring of 2025. And it truly was a fun experience. Annie F. Downs, Kelly Haywood, Fallon Klung, like her entire team, they are incredible, incredible people. And I think from that internship, I loved the importance of asking. That is what Kelly Haywood, who is Annie F. Downs' manager, told me. She said, Callie, my number one piece of advice for you is that you are going to have to ask for whatever you want in life. And I've taken that, and it has served me well in the past year. It truly has. And then with K-Love, it was just all around an incredible experience. I mean, K-Love, as you said, I don't want to lie to you and say the wrong number, but I believe K-Love owns 67% of the Christian music market. And so it is this massive company, and just all the people there. Like, that's what I have to brag on the most is the people there. They are truly incredible. Their mission statement is to inspire people to Jesus, and that is what every single person in that building does. And so I got these really unique experience with K-Love where I was actually in their pastoral care department, and that is something else that I want to brag on with K-Love is that other than the tech team, their biggest department within K-Love is the pastoral care department, and that is because it is a ministry. And so it was just an honor to get to serve alongside them. But not only did I get to serve in the pastoral care department, I got to see the other departments as well. So I got to learn from radio and their live events and their podcasting because K-Love, it's so much more than just the radio station. And yeah, it was an incredible experience. I got to meet a lot of really, really cool people and just experience the 9-to-5 corporate life. And I really didn't think I was going to enjoy that, but I did. I loved it. It really did surprise me that I liked it.
So, Jonathan, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, but I am because I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm going to be the first person in line when Callie writes her best-selling book, The Power of Persistence. Because, oh my word, this is such a wonderful success story. You know, we have had a lot of people that we've interviewed, and when you know, it takes a lot of guts to be able to take the little sting, because it is a sting. It's like a bee sting of rejection, right? The first time you get turned down for something and you've done your best. You know, you wrote this email. You're like, it's the best I can do. I've crafted it. I've been clear. You send it, and then ping, I'm sorry, we don't do internships. And then you're like, you know what, I'm going to do it again. And then the third time, because, you know, people don't usually set themselves up for rejection. It's a hard feeling to feel.
Right.
And you have proven, and I will have to say, if I received an email from the same student, that I can say no 2 times pretty good, but the third time is very hard for me. And I hate to throw that into the universe for people to know my weakness. But my family knows. They can ask me twice. And I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. I just can't do that, blah, blah, blah. But if they ask me a third time, the chances of acceptance go up to like 98.8% at that point.
I think that's how we got you to co-host the podcast.
I think that is you're learning a lot about me right here. But Callie, I am so proud of you because imagine if you would have stopped at that second rejection, this interview would be wildly different right now.
It would be.
So,
would be.
wow, well done.
And I'm so fascinated by that too, because obviously, at Tennessee Tech, we've got the Center for Career Development, and your advisors, your academic departments are oftentimes helping to facilitate these internships and opportunities. But you just you're like, I'm going to make a way for myself. I'm going to do it. And that was led and directed entirely by you. And I just think that's so cool. And I know I told you before this interview, I'm a fan of Annie F. Downs. I listen to her podcast. For listeners that don't know, I guess her podcast is kind of the flagship podcast in that network, but also like Thomas Rhett's wife, Lauren Akins, has a podcast with them. Paula Ferris, that used to be on ABC News and Good Morning America. It is a big network of all of these different flavors of podcasts, and I think that's such a cool thing. And you have some additional experience with that too. I'm looking at the clock here, and I was hoping we'd have time to ask this question. You host your own podcast.
I do. Yes.
So, tell us about that.
So it's called Callie in Christ, Callie I in Christ, and it's just basically all about Christian lifestyle. So when I was a teenager, I felt the call into ministry, and I learned pretty quickly that I liked me better when I was with Jesus, and I liked my life better when I was with Jesus. And so that's kind of my handle. That's my TikTok. That's my Instagram, is that name. And the podcast is developed over the years. So I took the class with Dr. Birch, the podcasting class, and it started there with a podcast called the Jesus Podcast. And there we introduce people to Jesus in different ways maybe they never heard of him about. So meet Jesus, the guy who sat with the wrong crowd, or meet Jesus, the guy who was anxious. Just ways that people had never even thought about Jesus before. And then it ended up developing into, I guess you would call it more of this like name brand podcast. And the whole point of it is, I call it a house of stories. And so it's a place where I want people to come and share their testimonies, share how they met Jesus, or maybe share some cool things that God has been doing in their life lately.
Well, I love that. And what I think is cool about that is that, because there are probably a lot of students like you that have, faith is maybe a big part of their life, and they might wonder, can I come to a public university and still have avenues to explore that at a place like Tennessee Tech? And it's important to me to let any prospective student parent know that yes, you can. It's not necessarily going to be like a university sanctioned. We don't have a chapel requirement, but there are more than 200 student organizations, and so for people of many different faiths, persuasions, views, interests, you're always going to be able to find your niche, find your place at Tech, and I'm so happy to hear that you found that.
I did, yes. It was always encouraged by my professors to lean into it.
I'm sure you're getting this question a lot these days, but as you head into your final year at Tennessee Tech, and we've talked about all these great internships you've done, what do you hope the future looks like for you?
I hope to go into Christian media. As I said earlier, I feel the call into ministry, and as I have interned and just practiced Christian media in my own time, it truly is. It's an incredible place to be. And I feel like I was actually talking about this with Dr. Wilson about how not a lot of people know that Christian media even is an industry. That whenever people come into journalism, you automatically think, oh, news editorial or just public relations, something like that. But it's this entire industry in itself. And when I started at Tech, I actually wasn't really planning on doing media ministry, but just to go into ministry, and the communication was something that somebody told me that I would be really good at. And so I went for it. I tried it. And ministry media is a career field. And I would encourage anyone that wants to go into ministry. I know a lot of times if you want to go to seminary, you have to have a bachelor's degree first. And so I would encourage people to try the communication field in that.
Well, Callie, you are just a lovely person, a wonderful student. We're so proud to watch your journey unfold. Let's talk about another thing that you bit off, and that's being the sports editor for the Oracle.
Yes. So as a freshman, I came in and I started as a sports reporter for the Oracle, as well as the social media manager. And I worked under B. Goodman. She was the editor at the time, and Dr. Teddy Birch. He was the faculty advisor. And I loved it. It gave me a community, as you were saying earlier. Finding a community as a freshman is one of the most important things when you come into college. And so it gave me that group of people to work with and to explore and to really fall in love with the journalism field. And the next year I became the sports editor. And I grew up an athlete, and so sports was always an interest. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed having the support, getting to practice what I was majoring in, but then also having the support of the students around me and the faculty advisor, Teddy Birch.
Shan, I love how she's doing all these different forms of, she's print media, she's podcasts, she's radio.
She is career ready. I mean, hand that girl a diploma, except she doesn't want to leave school. Now, finally, Callie, we end each podcast with the same question. What is one way, and you've already named 25, what is one way that Tennessee Tech has impacted your life?
Tennessee Tech, as I said earlier, it has always felt like home. And I think Tech gave me the safe place to explore all of those 25 options that I've been able to practice. And just, it's a personal experience, as I keep saying. And my professors here and all of the students, that's kind of a benefit of the communication department because it's smaller. And so you really, really get to know your professors and you really, really get to know the students alongside of you. And so I think Tech has just, it's given me a million opportunities. It's given me all the opportunities I wanted and then some more that I wasn't even considering. And so, yeah, I would encourage anyone who is more career focused and is more career driven to come to Tech because it feels more like that personal home experience. And it gives you 1,000 opportunities. You can go and work for our radio show. You can practice PR in our PR club. Our professors are emailing us almost every single day saying, here's another internship opportunity. Here's another internship opportunity. Here's another internship opportunity. And so Tech, it has truly, truly prepared me to step into whatever is next for me. And I have never, not once, felt like that option is limited.
Well, Callie, I'm the new president of the Callie Fan Club. Thank you so much for being our guest today on College Town Talk.
Thank you for having me.
And for our listeners, if you're enjoying our show and hearing from all-star Golden Eagles like Callie Smith, would you do us a favor and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get this podcast? It all helps to spread the word about the great things happening right here in Cookeville.
And we'll meet you right back here next week for more conversations with the people who make Cookeville Tennessee's college town.
College Town Talk is presented by Tennessee Tech University in partnership with the Cookeville-Putnam County Visitors Bureau. Your hosts are Jonathan Frank and Shan Stout, and original music is performed by Andrew Buckner. Visit us online at tntech.edu/collegetowntalk.